What's up, riders? Just wanted to do a quick video because, as you can see, working on the bike, we got a big ride out coming out here in Philly, Wave Day. And a lot of times when we do these big ride outs, we end up stopping a lot because people break down, and sometimes it's for the simplest things. And I realize that a lot of people don't do bike checks before they ride. So this is a absolute must, especially if you're riding in the streets, especially if you're riding dirty and you don't want to break down on the side of the road where you're going to be susceptible to being stopped by a cop because he's going to see you sitting there. And also, you don't slow the pack down, because when we ride, man, we love to ride. So right now, I checked the wheel bearings. I actually ended up replacing them. Spent a little more money and got some better ones that are better sealed. Put those in, because the ones that were in there, I put my finger in it, and then when I spin it, I can actually feel you shouldn't feel anything. No, like, you shouldn't feel the wheel bearings at all. It should just be a smooth motion like it is right now. If you feel like rough, then you need to replace them. That's something you should check, especially if you ride out in the streets. Maybe every month, pull the wheels off, check the bearings, because at the end of the day, these wheels weren't meant for highway use, and we're over here putting these engines on them and going 60 miles an hour. It's just not designed for that. So you definitely got to keep an eye on that. Bolts. Mini bikes shake. They move a lot. Be honest, mine's not so much, but you know, my bike is heavier now. It's bigger now because of the swing arm that I added, and the two rear shocks in the back. So it's okay. But you know, a lot of the guys, they ride the smaller mini bikes. They vibrate a lot. I've seen guys where their chains were popping and continuously popped, and then come to find out his engine wasn't even bolted on tight to the frame. I even seen a guy whose engine, the bolts came off because he didn't even tighten his bolts up. Now that's crazy. Another thing, these engines don't have oil filters. Oil does not get cleaned. If I do a big ride out where we ride a lot of miles, I just change the oil. One quart can get you about almost two oil changes, and then I use the good stuff that has the zinc in it. If you put any type of money in your engine, you should be running an oil that has zinc in it, because especially now, a lot of the oils, they don't have that. Helps protect the engine. And change the oil, like I was saying. I've seen people where their rods would break from time to time, and then you ask them, well, how often are you changing your oil? And they'll be like, I haven't changed in a while. That oil breaks down. You lose viscosity. Viscosity is when you take a dab of oil, put it between your fingers, and you open your fingers, and at that moment where the oil separates and is no longer touching both fingers, that's viscosity. It's how much the oil sticks to parts, and that breaks down after you ride the engine for so much. So change the oil. So important. It'll keep the engine running. Tires. I know it's cool, do burnouts and whatnot, but if you riding on the streets, have a pair of wheels or something that you do burnouts in. But I don't understand why people do burnouts. Tires, when you ride in the streets, if you get caught out in rain and your tire is worn down, you are gonna fall. They're so slick in the rain. Another thing, if you're riding in the streets, lights. Even if you got a cheap little light in the front, cheap little light in the back, that's good. I got lights I even have a reflector there just as a added bonus so I could be visible. All your nuts and bolts, check them, especially if you got fenders. Make sure they're tight. Anything that needs grease or has to be lubed, check it. Check your spark plug. Have an extra spark plug in your bag when you ride. It can save you. Have an extra spark plug. If you got a little tank, get yourself one of those little aluminum water bottles and put some gas in there. You can carry it in your bag, and if you ever break down because you don't have gas, you can pour that little bit in there. It'll get you to the gas station. It's better than walking. Tire pressures. Make sure your tires have the right pressures. One thing I see all the time, this rear tire is the original tire that came with the Coleman CT200 UEX. This is only a 10 psi tire. It's not like regular tires where you get 32 psi. This is a 10. It's meant to run that way. My front tire, which is a pit bike tire, I put about 27 in it. It's about the good pressure for me. And that's just something you got to feel out. And also just look at the side of the tire, what psi is supposed to have, and check that it's there. Your chains. Make sure your chains are lubed. Rusty chains, no good. They pop. Your belts, if you got a torque converter, have a couple extra belts in your bag. They will go bad. Mine's do all the time. My last ride out, I had to change one. And what I do is, I keep one belt on the bars. That way if it goes, I can real quick pull it off the bar, put it on, and be done with it. And keep moving. Because that's the key, to keep moving. Another thing, if you're running Mikunis, these bolts right here, they tend to come loose, even these. And a lot of times I see that people don't put Loctite. I put blue Loctite on mine. I haven't had no issues, but I've seen people where this thing will come loose, and I've seen them lose the bolts and then just be stuck. So make sure these are tight and you got some blue Loctite on them if you're running the Mikuni carbs, because the vibrations will loosen them up. Another thing, run good gas. Stop running cheap gas in your mini bikes. Run good gas. They're small engines. You use them a lot. Just put good stuff in them. I mean, what most people, mine takes 2.4 gallons. I could ride all day with my tank, but most people have a 1 gallon tank. And even with that 1 gallon, you get a lot of mileage. So just put the good gas in it. Check your brakes. Make sure your brakes work. Before you even ride out, take a little spin around and just check your brakes. Make sure they're working. Make sure everything is working. I got my cover off now because I'm changing it up a little bit. But, oh, and I'm also replacing my rear brakes. They work, but they're squealing. And I just hate coming to a stop and all you hear is, "Arr!" To me, it's a little embarrassing. The bike look nice as hell and it's squealing when I come to a stop. Well, hopefully this information will help you out. If you have any moving parts, any bolts, whatever, check them. Do all that anytime you're doing a ride out. It's a small bike. It's not a lot to check. It's not like a car. Get it checked out. Make sure it's right. And that way you'll be able to enjoy the ride. Because believe me, if you break down, you're not going to enjoy the ride. So that's my 2 cents for the day. I'll see you on the streets.